So he's upset. They've written a story about that. But then he gets even more mad because they don't stop there. Then they write a story about how he's had an accident. And he had an accident. He broke a finger, but it wasn't a big deal. He had to go to the hospital and they set the bone. Okay, it's all done. Well, somehow this story made it to the papers, and they had written this very sort of cloak and dagger story about how Harry's been wounded. Can't say exactly how, but we think you should know that if any heir to the throne has ever been injured, you should know. Well, I mean, that is an annoying story. It's like, first of all, as a reader, who wants to read that? That didn't tell me a thing. But then also, a broken finger is not really a story. Stop trying to make a story out of nothing. You know, if you don't have anything to say, write about something else. So, as a consumer of the news, that kind of story would annoy me. Now, as a person who the story is about, again, that would be annoying. Nothing happened. I broke my finger. Big deal. But again, nothing happened. It's not like they wrote a story and talked about how, he had almost drowned and, he had been dragged 17 miles behind a horse-drawn carriage. I mean, it's not like it was some sensational story. It was just a dumb story. And he has the gall, once again, to conflate it to his mother's passing. And he says that I'd broken a bone in my thumb playing rugby. No big deal. But the paper decided to make out that I was on life support. Bad taste under any circumstances. But a little more than a year after Mummy's alleged accident? Come on, fellas. This doesn't have anything to do with your mom's accident. Yes, they're just trying to get traction to the paper. They're just trying to get people to read it. Okay, well, you are a famous prince, so expect a couple of stories to come out. But this is the thing that I was just like, of all the people in the world, you're the last person to pass judgment. He goes on to talk about not the content of the story, but the quality of the writing. Fans of this channel will know I don't take that lightly. This book, by the way, was written by a ghostwriter, Harry. You couldn't even manage to write your own story. So why don't you lay off the other people who do manage to put pen to paper? This is what he writes about the story. Before trying to move on with my life, I took one last look at the article. Of all the things that surprised me about it, the true flabbergasting thing was the absolutely shitty writing. I was a poor student, a dreadful writer, and yet I had enough education to recognize that this right here was a masterclass in illiteracy. Is he talking about his own book? To take one example, after explaining that I had been grievously injured, that I was nearly at death's door, the article went on to caution breathlessly that the exact nature of my injuries couldn't be revealed because the royal family had forbidden the editors to do so, as if my family had any control over these ghouls. Quote, to reassure you, we can say that Harry's injuries are not serious, but the accident was considered grave enough for him to be taken to hospital. But we believe you are entitled to know if an heir to the throne is involved in any accident, however small, if it results in injury. The two butts in a row, the smug self-regard, the lack of coherence and absence of any real point, the hysterical nothingness of it all. This dog's dinner of a paragraph was said to be edited, or more likely written, by a young journalist whose name I scanned and then quickly forgot. I didn't think I'd ever run across it, or him again. The way he wrote, I can imagine he'd be a working journalist much longer. How can he say these things with a straight face? How can he read the prologue to his own book and say, that guy over there? What a loser. That guy over there? He could never write. I never thought I'd see him again. Harry, somebody wrote your book for you. It is so crazy to me that he would allow this passage, this self-congratulatory passage that he could spot bad writing in a book that is one of the most horrific pieces of writing I have ever seen. It's wild to me that he would even give himself the pleasure of writing about somebody else's bad writing through a ghost writer who is writing his book. The hypocrisy of it. How can he live with himself? We have so many instances. We are on page 47. We have 3 major instances already of him in the moment saying, that person over there, what a terrible, terrible person they are because of X, Y, and Z. As he's in the moment doing the exact same thing. Who even edited that paragraph? Who even edited your book? This paragraph right here? This whole litany against somebody else's writing? Who let you say that? I am floored. Talk about flabbergasted. Okay, so then he goes on to say that he was building a reputation for himself. And, I mean, through no fault of his own. Everyone kept saying things about him that just weren't true. And the word they really liked to use about him was naughty. He was naughty. He was naughty, they said, all the time, but he didn't want to be naughty. It's just the way people understood him, but he wasn't trying to be naughty. And it's like, okay, well, the kid dancing at the bottom of the stairs to poor Pat as she tries to descend backwards down the stairs because she can't walk due to her back and knees, that kid was kind of a jerk. The kid who, would get up in the middle of the night and run to the neighboring farm and stuff his face for hours on somebody else's strawberries, kind of naughty. The guy who's cutting class so he can smoke under the bridge and eat McDonald's, not a world-class pupil. The person who is out on the pitch beating others into the ground so that he can exercise his rage, problematic. But he wasn't naughty. How dare you call him naughty? So he's annoyed because he says that nobody understands him and nobody makes any effort to understand him. Well, he should have a lot of experience in ignoring people's intentions because that's what he does 24/7.